I could swear I had this set up before. I think that's good enough. All right, so this video is entitled 11 Writers Advice to the Young. So the reason I'm starting with this one is because I feel like I just feel like this is seeing the advice from other writers is really cool. So some of the things I do want to do is I want to actually watch conferences and things like that and give commentary on that. But this is a good start. So this is about 11 minutes long. So we're going to go through, may end up pausing it. If there's any questions, feel free to ask and we can discuss it. Come on.
For a young writer, if you hang out with me, I would have a lot of advice. Although I would feel somewhat embarrassed about giving advice to the young writer. I think the most important advice I have is to have fun. To try to create something that is fun to work on.
I think that's such a great advice, honestly.
Really fun, not just kind of masturbatory fun, but actually you've gotten something going that is just fun, and fun in the sense of completely engaging. Fun like you're on a tennis court. When you're on a tennis court, you're not just messing around, you're not just like, hitting the ball wherever you want. You are focused on having a game, and once you are in it, you are having fun. That's the kind of focused fun I'm talking about. And if you are having that kind of focused fun, there's a good chance that the reader will too.
You learn from models.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Let me pause
study
it.
them.
So I think that's a really good point. So they always say, write the book that you want to read. And that's similar. It's like, if you're not having fun writing something, the writer is probably not going to have fun reading it. It's such an important aspect that a lot of writers, especially those who are trying to write for publication, write to the market, they don't think about, like, oh, I hate, let's take, what are they called? Vampires, for an example. So many people could not cared less about vampires. Yet they wrote vampire books. They wrote romance vampire books because they were popular. And how many of them sold well? Or have any longevity? You talking about audio? Yeah, I noticed that too, Ito. I'm not sure what to do about it. Everything's up. I'm not really sure. I was hoping it was just my laptop that was low. I mean, I can turn up the volume on the video more. Is it my voice or the video or both? I may end up having to do some gain on my mic. Yeah, I don't know, because I have on my laptop I had to almost max and it was still pretty low. Let me increase some gain and see how that works. Oh, if I can. I don't think I can, because the way I have it set up. Filters. Maybe I can. I'll probably end up having to redo this, honestly. Video delay, noise gate, compressor, limiter, expander, maybe? Let's see what this expander is. Yeah. Oh, output gain. Alright. Is that any better, Ito? I can't tell if that actually worked or not. I may have to work on it after stream. Okay. I'll work on it more after stream. Let me know how the video sounds, though, when I play it again. But yeah, so I think one of the excuse me, one of the most important things when writing is to remember that you need to write for yourself and not for others.
Analyze them very closely So one thing at a time. You don't just sort of read the paragraph and say, "Oh, that really flows." That's good.
Are you able to hear the
say
video?
what
Okay.
kind of adjectives, how many, what kind of nouns, how long are the sentences, what's the rhythm. You pick it apart, and that's very helpful.
The talent is the
I
only
don't
thing
know.
that you cannot really learn in writing. You could learn all the tactics of writing. You could learn all the schools, different schools of writing. But if you're not talented, then you should not write.
I do not agree with him. Okay. I'll turn it up a little more. I actually do not agree with that guy. So he said, if you do not have the talent to write, you should not write. I'm a firm believer that even the least talented writer can still be a good writer. However, with that said, a talented writer, so anybody can be a good writer, but it takes a truly talented writer to be a great writer. I'm a firm believer in that. I think that if you put practice into it and you learn the techniques and everything, you can become a good writer, like published and have a decent career. But to be truly great, like your Stephen Kings and things like that, you need to be that inborn talent. So I guess I half agree with him.
Man ska bli till någonting så man
If you want to make something for yourself, you have to work for it.
Man må jobba med det. Aldrig ge
You
sig.
must never give up.
Och hvis man har kanske dagar och uker som man inte tror på sig själv, så må man allikevel tro på att man kan arbeta.
Now that is a more great advice. I mean, really not much to be said about that one.
Yourself out of it if you possibly can, because you're probably not going to be very good at it. Your wife's probably not going to support you. You're probably going to have a drinking problem. You're probably going to be frustrated if you have any children at all, and you'll probably never make a penny.
I want to listen to that one again. I'm not sure what advice he was giving there.
Så må man allikevel
Let's watch that one
tro
again.
på att man kan arbeta.
Talk yourself out of it if you possibly can, because you're probably not going to be very good at it. Your wife's probably not going to support you. You're probably going to have a drinking problem. You're probably going to be frustrated if you have any children at all, and you'll probably never make a penny.
I'm confused on how that's advice. If anything, that's bad advice. Yeah, I know. Wow. Okay, well, let's move on.
Another thing I would say is to be very patient. And even patient with chaos. You have this beginning and that beginning and that beginning, and you're just worried and unhappy. But I wouldn't worry too much. I think it is a little chaotic. It's not neat. You don't start something and finish it.
Och det bara att öva sig på de orden, akkurat som en musiker övar på noterna sina. Det bara att göra det hela tiden. Skriv, skriv, skriv.
Yep.
Jag tror att den som vill bli diktare eller konstnär, det är någonting oavvisligt. Vill han bli det, måste han bli det, så blir han det. Det handlar inte heller om vilja, det handlar om ett måste. Att det finns ingen annan väg.
So, on a personal level, dealing with, like, if you meant to be a writer or storyteller, you're going to be. If I go too long without having some sort of output for my story or for my creative side, I actually become less effective in other aspects of my life and, for lack of a better term, depressed. It's not real depression, but it's a bit of a sadness. And I learned this a long time ago. If I get that feeling and I'm like, well, why am I feeling this way? I actually just go ahead and write something. Write something creative. It doesn't have to, it could be nonfiction or fiction, but something creative. And all of a sudden, it's like, I have so much energy again. This stream, for example, the other day, as you know, Tomasi, I got the bad news that I basically got let go of my job at my job. What, about 5 minutes into streaming? I don't even know if it was that long. And I was like, I should stop streaming because, this is just, I'm feeling like crap and everything. But I was like, you know what? No, let me continue with this. Yeah, it could be, Tomasi. You really should try write something. So I was feeling like, man, should I stop the stream? And I was like, no, you know what? Because I know that even though this is bad news, I need that creative outlet to feel good, to feel better. And sure enough, like, even though I had to fight through that stream that it all ended up being about an hour total. And then I had some bad games of Apex, and I just wasn't. That wasn't even fun. Like, I wish I hadn't even switched over to Apex, but that's a whole nother story. Yeah, and honestly, like, doing the story planning, talking with you guys, that made that whole event so much easier. When I got off the stream, of course, realization and all that stuff, and it's fine. Like, I'm feeling good now. I got some things in the works that are looking to be really, really interesting. But yeah, that hour was like, I have to do this for my own sanity. And that's how I'm writing. So
You are talented, but you must know that the talent is not the end. It is just the beginning.
okay, so
And
I
you
agree with
must
that.
keep the writing as the most important thing in your life. And whenever you feel that the writing is not the most important thing in your life, you better stop writing, because you will never make any difference.
Wow.
Writing, if it works out, is
Okay, let's see what
such
he
a
has to
long
say.
shot. The fact that I could have had a writing life for 46, 47 years is ridiculous. And I've worked like a dog.
I'm
It's
still not
ridiculous.
still not sure if he's happy or not.
So find something better.
Not to young writers, beginning writers, no matter what language they are using, this is a very important message. Just try to. I give them one sentence because it's easier to remember the sentence. I tell them, the secret of writing is this: write, 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 and write again.
Yep.
And you will get it right.
Write,
That's
write,
my
write, and write again, and you will get it right.
universal sort of advice to all writers. Yeah.
Det skulle vara att lita på ditt inre måste, att det inte finns. Därför att mödorna, strävandena är så hårda så att du måste ha den här inre övertygelsen om att det här är det du ska bli.
If you can't find anything
no.
better, if you try your best to talk yourself out of it, then maybe you have the hint of a vocation.
I've been there, actually.
Put writing before any other thing. When you prefer writing to money, to your friendship, to all pleasures of life, writing comes first.
Not to believe it to be an artist.
That's important.
Don't to take himself seriously. Not to think that you are inspired. You know that genius is 10% inspiration and 90% perspiration.
When I was really young, William Burroughs told me, and I was really struggling. We never had any money, and William, the advice that William gave me was, build a good name. Keep your name clean. Don't make compromises. Don't worry about making a bunch of money or being successful. Be concerned with doing good work and make the right choices and protect your work.
Yeah.
And if you build a good name, eventually, that name will be its own currency.
My advice.
So that's even more important nowadays with the indie scene the way it is. You really need, and actually not even just indie, I'm just saying that's what influenced this. You really need to build a brand. Your self-brand needs to be super powerful in order to make it. I mentioned Lindsay Burkhardt earlier, and when she first started out, she was doing so many things just to build that brand. Now she has a huge following, and she's last I heard, because she also gives a lot of advice to writers, and last I heard she was making 7 figures. 7 or 8 figures on her writing. And she started I think she published her first book in technically in 2011 that was unpublished and republished, but so 9 years she went from making 0 to at least 7 figures. It might even be 8. I forget. But I know it's over $1 million. It's I don't remember if it's I don't remember if it was 5 million or 10 million, but it's somewhere in that range. She's making that yearly from her writing now. She's always been a huge inspiration for me. So, you know, there you go.
To a young writer would be that he or she works with what he or she is made of. And by that I mean that we should not be afraid of working with the things that fascinated us when we were at the most impressionable. And it might be music, it might be comic books, it might be a boy detective novel, it might be a Barbie doll with a certain princess dress or whatever. I think we are all informed by the things that fascinate us and excite us when we are quite young.
But it helped me a great deal. Not everybody keeps a notebook by any means. Some writers somehow keep it all in their heads and bring it out when they need it. But I always keep notebooks, and it takes some of the tension and the worry away, because if you write it down, it may just be a note. It doesn't have to be the beginning of anything.
Sorry, guys.
And it also means that when you want to work on a piece of writing, you can go back to the notebook, and I have this beginning or that idea and this. So it makes it more relaxing. I don't ever start with a blank page.
So that's funny, because I used to start with a blank page, and I've gone back and forth so much on this. And maybe after this, after we finish watching this, I'll actually show you one of my story Bibles, Story Universe Bibles, briefly. But I've gotten to the point where I don't keep everything in a journal. But if it's something that has been, like, if I think of something, I'm going to keep thinking about it. And if I go back to that story and I'm like, yes, this has to be in there, then I write it down. Or of course, if I'm in the middle of writing and something. But if, like, a lot of times I'll get a lot of my ideas when I'm taking a shower, right before sleep, or when I'm driving. So I don't stop right then and write it down. But anything that sticks with me, I know that it's going to be part of that story, and I definitely write that stuff down. And I've started doing the story Bibles, Universe Bibles, not just story Bibles, recently, early last year. And like I said, after this, we're almost done with this, another couple minutes. So after this is done, I'll open up that, and you guys can see that.
Advice is that you cannot become a general if you are not being before a corporal, a sergeant, a lieutenant. So go step by step.
I'm interested in how we encounter culture. And most of us come to culture, well, first through the lullaby. You know, the lullaby is theater, music, and literature. And then we become young absorbers of culture through things which grown-ups do not see as culture. But we are always giving kids tools for storytelling.
It's true.
You know, toy soldiers, dolls.
I used to tell tons of stories with my action figures, not dolls.
And then you go to the cinema and you see a crazy, crazy action film, or you see a bad horror film by coincidence on the television, and it excites you. So I'm interested in carrying on the cultural dialogue. And that's what I mean by not being afraid of what informed you as a cultural person.
Jeg tror jeg ville si, ikke ta imot
Don't take any advice. I like that advice.
Skriv ut fra den du og ut fra det du har lært av de bøker.
Yeah, write what you want to read, like I was saying in the beginning.
Best om.
The last piece of advice going out into the world would be, don't ever cave into the pressure of publishers.
There you go.
Or agents who say, well, you've written a nice book of stories, but we need a novel now, you know. And if you're not a novel writer, don't feel you have to write a novel.
That's true.
So do what you want to do, and don't worry if it's
There's plenty of people
doesn't fit the market, you know.
there's plenty of people, especially nowadays, again, going back to the whole indie scene, there's plenty of people who, you know, again, it's not about making the money. It's about getting your writing out there. It's, you know, I was going to use the word make a career, but that's not what I mean. I mean, like, they fulfill that desire, that need to get their work out there, to share it with others by writing short stories, novellas. No, of course not, Tomasi. I was totally kidding. I think that, you know, like most of the things I write are technically considered novellas. They're on the high end of novellas. They're right because novella starts around 18,000 words, goes to about 50,000 words. Some say 60, 65 even. So what I write usually tends to be between 45 on the short end to about 65 on the long end, with the exception of one, which is 140K. That's a whole other beast that I'll have to tackle one day. But my point is, you know, like, if you love writing 20,000 word stories, if that's your sweet spot, if you like writing serials, if you like writing short stories, you know, 5,000 words, 8,000 words, do it. Why not? You know, it doesn't matter.
Försök inte vara aktuell.
Here we go again with don't write to the market.
Någonting nytt, utan
Oh,
sträva
literally,
inte
he
till
says it.
marknaden. Undvik marknaden så mycket du kan. Alltså, marknaden är den farligaste förgiftningen av allting.
Don't pretend immediately to receive the Nobel Prize. Because that kills every literary career.
Very few of us grow up in a castle and have private tutors who teach us Greek before noon and Latin in the afternoon.
Not
and
everybody
then
knows
piano
that?
classes and learn about classical painting or something. All of us come to culture through trash. And there are so many people who are embarrassed about what excited them. I mean, if you come to storytelling through the Spice Girls, that is how you got introduced to storytelling.
Really good point.
You know, and work with it.
I see writing as a princess in the castle, and you must prove your love many times, and then when the princess will get convinced that you really love her, she will open the castle to you. Thank you. Thank you.
That was pretty good. I just don't know what that one guy, let's go back to him. Where was he? He talked 3 times, and every single time it was just like, what are you even saying?
Kan arbeide.
Talk yourself out of it if you possibly can, because you're probably not going to be very good at it. Your wife's probably not going to support you. You're probably going to have a drinking problem. You're probably going to be frustrated if you have any children at all, and you'll probably never make a penny. If it works out, is such a long shot. The fact that I could have had a writing life for 46, 47 years is ridiculous. And I've worked like a dog. It's still ridiculous. So find something better. If you try your best to talk yourself out of it, then maybe you have the hint of a vocation.
When you
I still don't know if he hates himself. Yeah, I don't know if he hates himself or is just trying to weed out the people who are not real writers, which I get that, but wow, that's just not I wouldn't do it that way, that's for sure.